I knew something was off when the waiter asked if the rest of my party was running late. I smiled reflexively politely and said, "They're on their way." They weren't. I'd reserved the table a week ago. 6 seats, one for each person I thought would want to celebrate with me. My mom, my brother Tyler, my cousin Natalie, Uncle Jack and Cam, my best friend from college. And me. But I guess I was the only one who showed up. I wasn't mad. Not yet. I wasn't even sad. Just embarrassed. I sat there in a quiet corner booth next to the window, dressed nicer than usual. I'd even put on heels, which I hated. Every few seconds I glanced at the door, half hoping someone would burst in with a smile and an apology. But all that came was the waiter again asking if I was ready to order. I asked for the wine list and picked something I hadn't had in years. As the minutes ticked by, I tried to stay calm, act unbothered. I scrolled through emails opened, Instagram, replied to a few Slack messages from work. Anything to avoid looking like the woman who'd just been stood up by her own family. Maybe they were running late. Maybe there was traffic. Maybe ping. A notification lit up my screen. A text from my mom. I opened it expecting an apology or at the very least a "be there soon." Instead, I read, "You're not exactly a priority right now. We'll catch up soon. Enjoy your dinner." I read it again, then again. Like maybe if I stared hard enough it would rearrange itself into something less cruel. But it didn't. That was it. That was the message. "No, I'm sorry. No congratulations." Just a quiet dismissal wrapped in faux kindness. I looked around. The restaurant buzzed softly with other people's laughter, clinking glasses, birthday songs. And me. I sat there with my wine, my silence, and 6 empty chairs. I didn't realize it yet, but that text wasn't just a message. It was the final confirmation of something I'd been ignoring for years. I was never part of the celebration. I was just the one expected to pay for it. That night, I went home and didn't even bother turning on the lights. I sat on the edge of my bed, still in my heels phone in hand, staring at that message like it was a photograph of a moment I never wanted to remember, but somehow couldn't look away from. "You're not exactly a priority right now," it echoed. And suddenly, everything else did too. All the little moments I'd brushed aside as just how families are. All the birthdays they forgot. The time I covered Natalie's rent just for a month and never got a thank you, let alone a repayment. The nights Tyler called at 1 a.m. needing help because his 3rd startup had fallen through again. I wasn't just being overlooked, I was being drained. After our dad died, things fell apart slowly like a roof with one small leak. At first I didn't mind helping. I had a good job in marketing, made decent money, and I figured why not? I'm single, no kids, it's what you do for family, right? Then it became monthly, then expected, then required. I paid the mortgage on the house I hadn't lived in since I was 22. Not all at once, just piece by piece, until I realized I was covering nearly every payment. I took over the utility bills when Mom lost her 2nd job. I bought Tyler a used car when he totaled his first. I even paid for the catering at our last Thanksgiving dinner where no one asked how I was doing. They were too busy hyping up Tyler's next big business idea. Another one. "You're just so good at managing things," Mom would say with that soft, self-soothing tone of hers. "Not everyone's built like you, sweetheart." And I believed her. I believed that being capable meant I owed it to them, that because I could handle things I should. I told myself I was building something. Stability. Safety. A stronger version of our family. But the truth, they were building comfort and I was footing the bill. The worst part was I didn't even realize I was slowly disappearing. Not until I looked up at that empty dinner table and saw 6 chairs all saved for people who didn't think I was worth showing up for. And you know what hurts more than being forgotten? Being used and then forgotten. A few months before that dinner, Tyler had asked for help with a down payment. He was vague, said it was for a project, promised he'd pay it back within the month. I wired $2,000 without a word. I found out later from Natalie, of all people, that he'd put it toward a motorcycle. When I confronted Mom about it, she just shrugged. "He's doing something for himself," she said. "It's not like he has anyone else looking out for him." I stared at her. "And who's been looking out for me?" She didn't answer. Just patted my hand like I was being dramatic. "You always help. It's just who you are." Maybe it was. Maybe I'd been raised into it, shaped into it. The dependable daughter, the fixer, the one who doesn't ask for anything because everyone assumes she already has everything. But that night, sitting in the dark with my shoes still on and my phone screen burning into my palm, I realized something I should have seen years ago. Being the strong one doesn't mean you're loved more. It just means they think you can take more, and for 5 years I had. They called it generosity. I called it obligation, but after that dinner I finally started calling it what it really was: debt. Not just financial, emotional. I don't know how long I sat there that night scrolling through old bank transfers, texts, family photos, trying to pinpoint the moment I became invisible. Maybe it had always been that way. Maybe I just didn't want to admit it. My phone buzzed again. I hesitated. Part of me still hoped it was someone reaching out. Sorry we messed up, or are you okay? It wasn't. It was a photo, sent by Natalie. The image took a second to load, but once it did, I felt something in my chest go still. It was the whole family: my mom, Tyler, Natalie, and Uncle Jack standing outside a waterfront restaurant, all smiles and wine glasses. Tyler stood front and center, holding a shiny black motorcycle key in one hand and throwing up a peace sign with the other. His jacket looked new, so did his watch. The caption read, "Celebrating the Dreamer." He finally got his moment. I stared at it like it was a riddle I couldn't solve. No one had mentioned plans. No one had said anything about going out that night. And definitely no one had said anything about Tyler getting a new motorcycle, one partially funded with my down payment just weeks before. Then I saw the timestamp. The message from my mom, the one that read, "You're not exactly a priority right now," had been sent an hour before that photo was taken. They hadn't forgotten me. They'd made a choice. Not only did they not show up to celebrate my promotion, they threw their own party for my brother using money I'd given them and didn't even bother to lie about it. That kind of clarity, it doesn't come with fire. It comes with stillness. A silence so sharp it cuts through every excuse you've ever made for the people who were supposed to care about you. Tyler didn't earn that moment. He absorbed it. And I paid for it. Literally. They called him the dreamer. The one with potential. I was just the safety net. The one who caught everyone else. The one no one looked at until she finally stopped holding the rope. I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream or throw my phone or text anyone back. I just stood up, took off my heels, and walked to the kitchen. Poured another glass of wine, opened my laptop, and pulled up a spreadsheet I hadn't touched in months. It was labeled Family Support, Private Do Not Delete. Each tab had a name, each line a date, rent payments, utility transfers, emergency car repairs, groceries, holiday gifts, co-signed loans, all color-coded by recipient. By the time I hit the bottom of the last tab, the number read $82,410.37. That was what I had given silently, steadily over 5 years. There's something jarring about seeing your love itemized. It's not about the money, not really. It's about the energy, the mental space, the default assumption that you'll handle it. And I had. Every single time. Until now. I opened the banking app, logged into the shared mortgage account one my mother had asked me to help with temporarily after Dad passed. The payment was due in 6 days, $830. Autopay was still enabled, pulling from my account on the 10th of every month. Without hesitation, I clicked Cancel Autopay. No warning message popped up. No guilt-inducing, "Are you sure?" Just a small green check mark. Done. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then grabbed my keys. The night was cold, crisp, silent, one of those nights where the world feels like it's pausing just for you. When I got to my mother's house, the lights were off. I didn't ring the bell. I didn't wait. I pulled a sticky note from my purse, wrote 5 words, and stuck it to the front door. Let him handle it now. Underneath, I added in smaller writing, "You raised me to care for everyone else. You never taught me how to care for myself." Then I turned around, walked back to my car, and drove home. No music, no tears. Just the soft hum of the engine and the sharp, steady beat of my own heart. Some people announce their boundaries with speeches. I set mine with silence and a post-it. The next morning, I woke up to 42 missed calls. 17 were from my mom, 9 from Tyler, a handful from Natalie, 1 from Uncle Jack. The rest, unknown numbers I didn't bother checking. I didn't answer any of them, but I did listen to the voicemails. The first was from Mom. Her voice was tight, frantic, like someone trying to sound calm but falling apart between syllables. "Macy, what did you do? I got a call from the bank this morning. They said the mortgage payment didn't go through. You can't just pull something like this without telling us Tyler's finally doing well. You're going to undo everything. This is not how family behaves." I replayed that last sentence. This is not how family behaves. Interesting, because I could have sworn how family behaves included ghosting your daughter on the most important night of her life. The second voicemail was from Tyler. His voice was defensive, irritated, laced with entitlement he didn't even try to hide. "Seriously, you just pulled the plug without warning. You're making Mom freak out. We were figuring it out. You could have at least talked to us first." I almost laughed. Talked to us like how they talked to me before throwing a celebration dinner I wasn't invited to. The third message came from Natalie. Hers was the worst because she didn't even try to pretend. "Okay, wow. So now you're punishing all of us over one dinner. Grow up, Macy. You always act like you're some martyr, like you're the only one who works hard." Newsflash. Tyler's been hustling too. He finally gets a win and you make it about you. That one stuck with me. One dinner. As if it were just about that. Not the years of invisible labor, not the money, not the birthdays spent alone, not the fact that they never celebrated me, but always celebrated themselves on my dime. No to Natalie, it was just one dinner. I sat on my couch, phone in hand, scrolling through the missed calls like they were pieces of a puzzle that would never form an apology. No one said sorry. No one asked if I was okay. They only cared that something stopped working me. It was never about what I gave them. It was about how quietly I gave it. The moment I said nothing, I was useful. The moment I said no, I became the problem. Later that afternoon, I got a text from Cam, my college roommate, the one person who knew more about my family than most. "Hey, my mom just told me your mom called her, said you're spiraling, that you're having a breakdown or something. You okay?" I stared at it for a long second, then replied, "No. I'm not spiraling. I'm finally standing still." Cam didn't push, just sent back a short reply. "Proud of you, for real." And that somehow hit harder than anything else that day. Because it was the first time someone didn't ask me to explain to fix to be okay for everyone else. They just saw me. The more I listened to those voicemails, the clearer it became. I hadn't disappointed my family. I'd just stopped being their safety net. And to them, that was unforgivable. I didn't expect anyone in my family to take my side. So when my phone rang later that evening and I saw Uncle Jack's name, I almost didn't pick up. But something about him had always felt different, quieter, calmer. He never said much at family gatherings, never got involved in the drama. He just watched, observed, stayed on the edges like me. I answered. "Hey," I said, voice steady. He paused for a second like he didn't know where to start. "Macy," he said finally. "You've got to talk to your mom. She's a wreck." I didn't answer right away. Just let the silence settle. "Is that what she told you I asked? That I'm the problem? She says she didn't know how left out you felt." I let out a dry laugh. "She didn't know." She texted me Jack. Told me I wasn't a priority, literally in those exact words. He went quiet again. That silence said more than anything else. I think he said slowly, deep down, "She just assumed you'd always take care of it." There was no malice in his tone, no defense, just honesty. "Everyone did," I said. "They always assumed I'd handle it, that I'd clean it up, that I'd never stop showing up." He exhaled low and rough. "You were never the weak one," he said. "You were just too generous." That line, simple as it was, stuck with me, because it was the first time someone in my family acknowledged the truth without trying to twist it. And for the first time since everything unraveled, I felt something close to relief. Not because someone finally agreed with me, but because someone finally saw me. It didn't fix anything, but it reminded me I wasn't crazy for walking away. 3 days after I canceled the mortgage payment, my mom showed up at my apartment. She didn't call ahead, didn't ask if I was home. She just came. When I opened the door, she was standing there with a tote bag in one hand and an old photo in the other. I recognized it instantly. It was me, age 6, dressed as a sunflower in my kindergarten play. She always said that was her favorite picture of me. I didn't invite her in. I just stepped aside. She walked in slowly like she was entering a stranger's house. Her eyes flicked around the room, scanning the walls, the bookshelves, the furniture. There were no family photos, no framed memories, no traces of her. "You redecorated," she said quietly. "I removed what didn't belong," I replied. She flinched just slightly, then sat down on the edge of the couch, clutched the photo tighter. "We're going to lose the house," she said. I nodded. "I figured." Her voice cracked. "You can stop this. One call to the bank and—" "No," I said flat. She blinked like she didn't understand the word. "No," she repeated. "I'm not calling the bank. I'm not making the payment. I'm done." Her face hardened. "Macy, this isn't just about money. This is about family." I almost laughed, but I didn't. "No," I said again. "This is exactly about money, because that's all I've ever been to you. That's not fair. You texted me, I cut in the night of my promotion dinner and told me I wasn't a priority, while you were celebrating Tyler with the motorcycle I partially paid for." Her lips parted like she was going to defend it, but nothing came out. "You didn't even pretend to feel bad," I said. "You didn't say sorry. You didn't check if I got home safe. You waited until the mortgage bounced to care." She looked down at the photo in her lap. "I didn't realize how much you were covering," she whispered. "That's the problem," I said. "You didn't want to realize it. You wanted me to keep doing it quietly so you didn't have to think about it." She shook her head. "Tyler's not like you. He needs more help." "No," I said calmly but firmly. "He needs consequences." She looked up, eyes glassy. "He's your brother, and I'm your daughter." Silence. "I didn't want to believe you'd just walk away," she said. "I didn't walk away," I replied. "I stopped being used." Her hands tightened around the edges of the photo. I could see her searching for something, some old tactic that used to work. Guilt, sadness, deflection. None of it landed this time. "What are we supposed to do?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. "Figure it out." Like I did, like adults do. She stared at me for a long time, and in that moment, I didn't see a mother. I saw a woman who had leaned so long on the strength of her daughter that she forgot she was supposed to be strong too. Eventually, she stood, smoothed out her shirt, picked up her bag. At the door, she turned back one last time. "Is this really the end?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. I thought about the birthdays spent alone, the calls that only came when something was broken, the endless cycle of giving without being seen. "It's the end of me pretending this was love," I said quietly. She didn't argue. She just nodded, opened the door, and walked out. The door didn't slam. No screaming, no closure. Just silence, and for once, it didn't feel empty. It felt earned. The morning after she left, I checked the shared mortgage account. No payments had been made. No one had even tried. They were waiting for me to cave, for me to be the bigger person like always. By noon, the group chat lit up. Natalie renamed it 3 times in 1 hour: emergency, mortgage crisis, family unity chat. The last one came with a broken heart emoji and a waving hand. I muted it. Didn't even open the messages except once just to read a text from Uncle Jack. It said, "I warned them this would happen. You were never the weak one." Just too generous. I took a screenshot. Saved it. Because when you spend years doubting your worth, sometimes a single line of clarity can feel like armor. 2 days later, the bank called. A woman on the line asked for me by name, mispronounced it slightly, then cleared her throat. "We've noticed the last 2 mortgage payments haven't been processed. Is there a reason for the interruption?" I answered calmly. "I'm not the responsible party. I removed myself from the title 3 years ago. I was helping. Voluntarily. She paused. I understand, but the homeowner listed you as the financial contact. She said you always handled it. Of course she did. That was the plan, wasn't it? Say nothing. Do nothing. Wait for the net to catch her again. I'm afraid that's no longer the case, I said. There was another pause longer this time. Then she thanked me politely and hung up. That evening, Tyler showed up, not at my door, but in my parking lot. He parked his shiny black motorcycle right in front of my apartment building like it was a peace offering wrapped in bad judgment. He was wearing sunglasses at 6 p.m. and pacing next to his bike, talking loudly on the phone. I didn't go down. I didn't need to. I knew the script by heart: panic, blame, distraction, guilt. Repeat. This time I stayed upstairs, watched him from the window, arms crossed, and for the first time in years, I felt no obligation to go fix it. No urge to soften the blow. No impulse to protect him from the consequences of his choices. I just stood there, quiet, still, detached. They weren't falling apart because I stopped caring. They were falling apart because they never learned how to stand without leaning on me. The next day was payday. For the first time in years, my account didn't show a giant deduction to cover someone else's roof. No mortgage payment, no family emergency transfers, no quiet bleed from my balance while I pretended it didn't hurt. It was just mine. The number sat there on the screen whole and undisturbed. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel guilty about it. I felt steady. I made coffee. Real coffee. Not the instant kind I used to drink because I was saving money. I sat on my balcony sunlight brushing my knees and watched the same neighbors walk their same dogs past the same trees, but somehow everything looked different. Not because the world had changed, because I had. That afternoon, I closed the shared mortgage account completely, deleted the logins, removed the reminders, wiped the spreadsheet from my desktop, and in its place, I opened a new folder, named it For Me. Inside, I dropped a blank document. The title bar read, What I Owe Myself. It wasn't just about money. It was time, peace, sleep, birthdays, the freedom to say no without being called selfish, the right to ask for things without being told I already had enough, the space to exist without being used. Later that week, I booked a solo trip to Lisbon. It had been on my list for years. I bought a leather jacket I'd tried on 6 times and always talked myself out of. I signed up for a weekend writing workshop. I pulled out the half-finished novel I abandoned 5 years ago and started rereading it. Page by page, I remembered what it felt like to belong to myself. My phone buzzed again that night, this time from an unknown number. I didn't answer. I didn't need to, because I already knew what it would say. Guilt, panic, manipulation, and polite packaging. A cry for help from people who didn't know how to ask without demanding. So I put my phone face down, poured another cup of tea, and kept writing. Some people lose their family when they walk away. I lost mine the day they decided I wasn't a priority. All I did was finally agree with them,